Were you and Angela Cullen giving each other dirty looks?
Oh, 100%.
Can you tell us anything about a hungover Max Verstappen still having to race during the most physically demanding race maybe in Formula One history?
The tension was there between every team member of Red Bull and every team member of Mercedes. And then obviously it all blew up in Saudi a little bit.
That's fake news?
Yeah.
Wow!
What's up, Vankers?
Hello, Vengas!
I'm pumped up right now.
I'm pumped. I'm freaking yoked up right now, dude.
I did legs before this. That's how excited I was.
Don't skip leg day! We're doing 75 hard, dude. And today is number one. This is a super exciting episode.
Yeah.
Because we're our little armchair experts, right? And we think we talk about sport, right? We talk about this sport of Formula One.
And I've often said, is it even a sport? Are these guys even athletes? I'm on record multiple times saying, can I beat these guys up?
Yeah. Because some of these guys, it's like, I feel like I could maybe beat this guy up. But you know what? But strength lives in many ways. And that is a thing that people say about motorsport. But, the more we understand about this world, the more we understand about the freakish strength that some of these people have. And no one understands that better than our guest today. He is a physiotherapist, a performance coach. He runs elite Formula PT. He's trained Olympic gold medal?
Hell yeah.
Gold medal, baby! Olympic gold medal winners and I think maybe a 3-time F1 world champion named, I think Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen?
Yeah. Max, I think I've heard of that guy.
Yes.
His name is Brad Skaines, and he is on the podcast today. Welcome to the Red Flags, Brad.
Guys, thank you for having me. And that's some intro. I'm not sure I've been on a podcast like that before. So,
well, listen. We were very complimentary. I don't want you to be intimidated.
Yes.
But Ryan over here, he's a certified personal trainer. So I just don't want you to be intimidated because he also knows a lot about fitness. So he might be correcting you.
I heard you guys did leg day, so.
Yeah, I might have a couple notes. Is my certification up to date? No. Is it expired? Yes. Did I do it as a kind of last-ditch effort to try to do something new with my life right before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic gained about 35 pounds? Yes. But you know what? I did take a test, and I did pass. So in many ways, I'm a peer.
Did you cheat on the test, Ryan?
Absolutely, I cheated on the test. I couldn't. I'll tell you a little bit about my brief time as a personal trainer. I did it for about 6 or 7 months. It was right before the pandemic. It was this is my new life switch. And honestly, it was just I realized how people who take their lives seriously and take workouts seriously work out at 6 in the morning. And I was I would go to someone's house. I would go to people's houses in New York because I lived in New York. I would go to their house. I would get Dunkin' Donuts, a donut, and a coffee before going to their house because I was in the midst of sleep. I would train them, and then I'd leave and get Dunkin' Donuts after training them. And I was like, this is not the life for me.
You're a fraud.
I was literally wiping the crumbs of my blueberry glazed donut off. So I'm about 10 more reps of that.
Do as I say, not what I do, huh?
Exactly.
I feel like that is a bit of the vibe of trainers.
Just like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dunkin' Donuts every day.
How did you get into this space? What's your story? And we'll get into the your time training athletes, but I'm curious how you got into this space even to begin with.
Yeah, sure. So, working in sport, being in sport was always a real passion of mine. And I studied sport and exercise science at university first. And then sort of realized that you kind of had to follow a different route to really get into sport. So I took my master's in physiotherapy. And then, just moved into working as I guess what you'd call a kind of normal physiotherapist in hospital environments, big hospitals in the UK. But always had that sport itch to scratch, and managed to get some part-time work working in football, or soccer as I'm sure you guys call it over there.
Thank you.
That's right.
We're appealing to the audience.
Yes. This is, yeah.
Yeah, so built up my sports sort of experience on the side in football, ended up going full time there, and then moved into Olympic sports with Team GB basketball, and then gymnastics. Worked with a few other athletes along the way, UFC fighters, cyclists. And then, it all came to a point back in 2019. I was working at a specialist performance centre in London, in Harley Street, also working with the gymnasts. And my name got mentioned if I wanted to go and meet some chap called Max in Barcelona, and the rest is history, as they say.
And did you know anything about Formula One or Max beforehand, before you got the opportunity?
Not really, no. Never really been a motorsports Formula One fan. I didn't know who Max Verstappen was. I was doing lots of Googling, trying to figure it out. You keep an eye on it. You knew, Lewis was very successful in Formula One and kind of, that it went on. But that was about my, the very first Formula One race I watched from the Red Bull garage, sat next to the mechanics.
Must be nice. You hear that, guys? Max's trainer, F1 casual.
Yeah. Here's the question. Did you watch Drive to Survive before, have you watched Drive to Survive?
I've watched the first 2 seasons, because I met Max in 2019 in December, and was due to go out and start pre-season training with him first week of January, second week of January. So over December, I watched everything that I could on Formula One. I was watching YouTube videos, I was watching Drive to Survive, I was reading everything I could just to kind of find out what it was.
Yeah.
And you can be honest, Brad. You can be honest. When you found out you were going to get this, you were applying for this job as, Max Verstappen's trainer. Did you think, this job's going to be easy because they don't have to do shit?
Well, if you're like, I've been training a guy who does the pommel horse,
soccer players, basketball players, guys who have to use their legs.
You're like, this guy's just sitting in the car. All right, this is going to be this is going to be a cakewalk.
That's it. Chilling. This is, I thought it was like semi-retirement. These guys, just grab a car.
Exactly.
But no, part of coming into a new sport for me, and I've been very lucky because I've managed to work in, various different sports at the highest level. And one of my favorite things is coming in and, looking at, okay, what are the physical and mental demands of the sport? What do these athletes need to do? And I got a new term for you. One of the terms I like to use is driver athlete. And then it's saying, okay, how can my skill set translate into that? And you read things like, they're taking 6 Gs of force around a corner in Silverstone or a corner in Barcelona. And, 6 Gs of force, that's 6 times your body weight. If the head weighs 5 kilos and the helmet 2 kilos, 7 times 6 of force going through the neck. So that's something.
Yeah. Did you have to, was there, did you have to go back to your, textbooks and be like, the neck, all of a sudden the neck is, do you understand more about the neck now than you ever thought that you would going into this?
100%. 100%. Yeah. It's, I can come back now and, treat other people, general population, other sports stars, UFC, rugby in a very different way of, training and rehabilitating the neck. So, it's amazing, really.
I was going to ask, is there any other athlete that has that kind of neck strength, like maybe like a front row in rugby or the NFL? Yeah. Do they have neck strength at that, or is Formula One just above and beyond?
Yeah, it's slightly different because they have to obviously take an impact. Obviously, Formula One can have crashes, but rugby and NFL would be 2 sports, and also combat sports. So boxers, right. UFC fighters, jiu-jitsu, and it's interesting because that's been big more recently. So Formula One drivers have always trained their neck. But no one's ever really kind of talked about it. And I think because the whole kind of world of F1 is a little bit kind of secretive, people keep things to themselves. There's no real research papers or literature on it. Whereas in rugby, it all came to the fore, a few years back, and NFL as well, with the large amount of concussions that they have within the sport. And there was one paper that came out, I think in 2015 or something like that showed if you can add 5 pounds of neck strength, muscle to your neck strength, you dramatically reduce concussion. And obviously these sports, combat sports, boxing, rugby, NFL, kind of jumped on that and really started pushing the neck training, which is good because it may not be those sort of figures, but it can obviously help you avoid injury.
Right. So got to ask, what was the interview like with Max?
Right.
So I had a few interviews with other people around, and then I was like, okay, basically tomorrow you're flying to Barcelona to go and meet him. I'm like, hang on a minute, I've got like 15 clients in tomorrow. I can't go. But move things around, headed over to Barcelona. You got to do these things.
You did a little bit of research and you said, this guy, all right, he might be a little bit worth it.
Yeah. I kind of said, a potential champion. Okay.
Yeah.
Flew over to Barcelona. I spent half a day. So he was testing some GT Cup cars around the circuit de Catalunya. All his family were there, met his dad, met his girlfriend, friends. Just kind of, it was very open, exploring kind of what each other wanted. We got on straight away, we're talking about football and other sports and, kind of told him my background. And essentially, I went in there thinking I'm probably not going to get this job, but let's give it a go. And, I said, I've already got one world championship. How do we get you one? How do we build this and make this happen? And I think he kind of liked that. So
nice.
Oh, wow. You came from a place of like, you're above me. You're trying to get on my level.
Yeah. I can still tell him now. I have 5 and he has 3. So
right.
So that's how it goes.
Yes, that's true.
Now, so it seems like he obviously wanted to know how you'd make him stronger and make him fitter, but it also seems like he wanted to see, because he's going to be spending so much time with you, like if you guys are going to connect on a personal level, like are you guys going to like each other as friends because you're spending that much time together? Like that personal component is important too.
Yeah, I think it's the most important, and I'm under no illusion. We had a good conversation in that time, but I think the decision probably set on the fact that, for half the time I was there, he was out driving the car, but I was there talking to his dad, talking to his family, talking to his girlfriend, and really got on with everyone, really kind of fit into that mold and did for my whole 4 years with him. And it was so nice because, and I appreciate, Max for this and his dad for this and the rest of the family, because I felt part of the family the entire time, which was really, really nice. And, we'll stay friends. And, that for me, like you say, you spend so much time together. That is the most important thing.
As people who long to be friends with Max Verstappen, what's the best advice that you would give towards getting along with the crew, with Kelly, with Joss, with Max? Like, what are the key components? Like,
to
what
becoming
are they
Max's best
becoming
friend.
2 of Max's future best friends?
Yeah, and try to infiltrate. what is your advice?
What's the way in?
I don't know, easygoing, laid back, common interests, say it as it is. We're always, super upfront, and everybody is from there, and just honesty and trust, be loyal, and that's kind of what defines them and that group and what you have to come into.
Was that an adjustment as an Englishman, like folding into a Dutch, sort of that Dutch mentality where they're just so, because like I've been to Amsterdam and like they're just so blunt over there, and it's like the opposite.
Yeah, I feel like the stereotype of the English is that like it's all kind of like underneath it. It's all under the surface. Yeah. It's all And I say this, but I mean this, and the Dutch are just like
this is what I say. What I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people kind of said that to me and stuff, but it's interesting coming from other sports and an elite sport background. You can't not work in that way. You have to be open with your athletes. There has to be really good trust and empathy, but you also have to translate that into the rest of the team. You have to have openness and honesty with strength conditioning coaches, with the coaches, with the managers, the wider team there. So something I was always kind of used to. But yeah, no, I completely get what you mean. It's a very English thing to keep everything back.
What was your favorite? Like, what did you and Max do? Like outside the gym to bond? Like, what was your favorite thing to do with him?
We were lucky. We were lucky and unlucky, I guess, because there wasn't. So when our first season together was 2020, and we spent the whole of pre-season together. So we did kind of 8, 9, 10 weeks in Monaco, training. You know, we'd have a bit of lunch, play some darts, play some FIFA, and you kind of bonded in that way. And then we went out to the first race, and then obviously we all got sent back, and COVID hit. And I think that was a really good kind of moment for us because it forced us to stay together even longer. And you couldn't really do anything. You couldn't go out and bits.
You quarantined with Max?
No, but I was in Monaco for a long period of time. You could move around in Monaco. You didn't have to stay in one place. So.
But it was still like during like, you know, pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you couldn't go out to restaurants or bars or something.
Right. So you like he was
in your bubble.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
and,
being in a bubble with Max Verstappen.
That's so crazy. How competitive did darts and FIFA get?
Right.
I wish they were, but I lost a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he's elite at FIFA. We know that he was like, globally ranked at FIFA. But how does he? You know, how was the darts? Was he, just bullseyes every time?
He hit what he needed to hit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I think athletes have a way about them, and as soon as they want to get good at something, they don't let it go.
Right. Sure. Okay, but wait. So the darts. He was on you, but what about the FIFA? Because there's lore. We've talked about it on the podcast that he's, about his FIFA skills and how impressive. Because we know that he's a lead on the sim as well. But,
how good was the FIFA?
Good. Yeah. It took me 3 years to beat him.
But you beat him.
Yes, I did.
How did he take that?
Not so well.
Okay. I got to ask: were you like an MLS team, and was he an MLS team, and you were a Prem team, or were they pretty evenly matched teams?
No, they were evenly matched. It was Man City and Real Madrid. Actually, I was Man City.
Not that you remember at all. It was July 9th,
2022.
It was 2:30 p.m. and I took a picture of the score.
What was the score?
5-4.
Yes, he remembers it all.
Penalty shootouts, extra time.
No, I went like 4-0 up, and then I was like loving it, but it was like half time. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna come back and beat me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was like Abu Dhabi. Yeah. You had the 16-second lead, and then all of a sudden Max
he's closing the gap.
It's Checo Perez defending you, and he's slowly making his way back. Oh wow, was he like immediate? Did you kind of hang up your thing? You were like, we're done. I'm out.
Did he have to run it, or do you want to run it back?
Was he chasing you out the door, being like, "Come on, one more match"?
Yeah, I was too busy celebrating like Abu Dhabi.
You had a bottle of champagne that collecting dust. You just start spraying it all over the house.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god! So going back to your,
actual job.
Yeah. Well, coming from the world that you had been in, training, certain types of athletes, and then going into F1, what was the biggest kind of like culture shock, both when it came to like the circus of F1 and then also when it came to kind of the training and the reality of like the demands of the job? Like what was the biggest culture shock of that?
Yeah, I think for me, first and foremost, that you described it very well there, the circus of F1, just the vastness of what it involves and how they move everything around the world and the logistics of it, and it just completely crazy to think that happens and happens half of the weeks of the year. So that was crazy. In terms of the training, first and foremost, just how unique it is, that these guys have to train every area of the body. So when we're strength training, we're training the lower limb because they could push 100 kg on the brake pedal in Monza. We're training the upper limb, which is probably the least trained because they got power steering, but they still need to take and brace force. We're training the core for the same reason in terms of bracing force and shock absorbing the lower back. And we're training the neck. So you literally, and then you have the cardiovascular training for that. And then you have the high intensity training for, it can get up to 90% heart rate for overtakes and starts. So that was, it wasn't so much of a shock because I did a lot of reading around it, but it was like, oh, wow, like we've got some work to do. And then I think I guess the biggest shock, it's like any other sport in terms of the demands from like media and marketing on the drivers. In no other sport are you walking to the grids. You don't see football players or NFL players being interviewed as they come out the tunnel.
Right.
These guys are walking to the grid. They're just about to put their helmet on, get in the car and drive for an hour and a half. And they're having an interview literally 2.5 minutes before they get in the car. And for me, that's just crazy because you've done all your warm up, you've done all your prep,
right?
Physically and mentally, you're ready, and then you're answering questions on Sky Sports or ESPN.
Martin Brundle's coming, bumbling towards you, being like, "Can you do it today, Max?"
Yeah, exactly. So,
what part of the mental component do you work on with them for situations like that?
Yeah, I think it's planning, it's preparation. It's coming, so you make it part of your routine. You do all your preparation kind of before, so you're in the right mindset. It just becomes part of the routine, part of the habit, and it's not. You just need to put the coping strategies in place to make sure it doesn't throw you off of kind of what you're thinking about.
Was there any part of when you came in, was there something that you felt like you diagnosed maybe within Max that you felt like this, either whether it's an area of his strength or maybe like a mentality thing or something that you felt like, oh, I need to, I can offer him this and maybe improve him in this area? Like, was there
a new perspective?
Yeah. Did you bring in like a kind of new perspective towards him? What was, he had obviously like made some type of shift. So was he looking for something different in his training? What was he looking for within your guys' partnership?
Yeah, I think the first thing there was he particularly wanted someone who was dual qualified, so a physiotherapist and a strength conditioning coach.
Can I ask a dumb question as a former personal trainer? What is a physiotherapist? Because you do hear like that. Like, I know strength and conditioning, but what makes a physiotherapist a different thing? Yeah.
So across the pond, I think you guys call them physical therapists or athletic trainers. So I see. Deal with injury, pain, rehab, that sort of thing. So if you hurt your shoulder, you'd come into my clinic, I'd assess your shoulder, we'd treat it and get it better from there. So his previous guy who, was very good coach, very good trainer, excellent guy, didn't have that kind of aspect to him. He could train him very well, but at the time, maybe was a few injuries carried, a few niggles that just needed kind of ironing out over a period of time and race weekends. So I brought that perspective initially. So that was kind of the difference there. But from what I saw, I saw a guy that was elite. He knew where he wanted to go. You could see the drive. You could see the work ethic. The work ethic was tremendous. And for me, it was just, I've got to create the optimal space for him to be him and him to do him. And people talk about kind of working on the mental side of things and, mental imagery, all that stuff. And actually they overlook a lot of just, I will sort everything for you so you can just go and do you. You don't need to push anything on somebody because they've already got it there. They've got the mental strength. They've got the ability. And sometimes it's people coming in with too much can also throw them off. So yeah, when I best describe what I do, it was, I create space. I create the optimal environment for him to do him.
That's so interesting. It's like most people who are like in the fitness industry are like trying to coach you mentally and try to put you in. But I guess when you're Max Verstappen, you don't need any. You just need someone to get almost like make it easy for you to be you. Mm-hmm. And you know,
how does his kind of mentality and that thing like compare to some of the other, you know, great champions that you've worked with as well? Like, you know, is there a common thread between, like, do you see the glint in Max's eye that you've seen, you know, in like Max Whitlock's eye? You know, do you like, is it a type of thing where like you've like, oh, like have you met like versions of like when you meet a great, do you feel like you know it? You're just like, oh yeah, this guy's locked in, versus someone who you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to maybe push them a bit more.
Or
like,
are there many roads to Rome?
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Like, are there many approaches that will end up in greatness?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think you're both right. You know, you get a feel for it. I just previously worked with a lady who just won the world championship in Kona as well, for triathlete. And the common theme that I have seen in the three world champions I've worked with now is flexibility and adaptability. So no matter what's going on around them, no matter what chaos is going on, they perform exactly the same. So she won Kona with a massive injury during the run, which she got in mile 1 of the marathon after swimming and cycling, and she still went on to win it. Max Whitlock tells an amazing story, which I repeat quite a few times, that when he was at his first world, or going through it, or when he won his first world championship, I should say, he went out last. Everyone else had been before him. And in gymnastics, you get scored for the difficulty of your routine and the execution of your routine. And he's standing in the tunnel, and he's in silver or bronze place. And his coach says to him, and he's got 3 routines. He's got an easy one, a medium one, and a hard one. He's going out to do his hard one. His coach turns to him and says, your routine can't win this. You're going to get silver medal. It's not difficult enough. Literally 30 seconds before they go out, changes the routine in the tunnel, goes out, wins the world championship. And it's that sort of flexibility, that adaptability. And you take Max Verstappen, you know, he's on the grid being interviewed by 2 or 3 different TV stations, or, you know, something's happening with the car. He gets in the car and drives exactly the same, no matter what's gone on. And that's, for me, what I've seen from the kind of good to great.
I've never actually heard that perspective. And it doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter if the front wing is hanging off. He's just going to drive the car the exact same way.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to like wind though when he's far ahead.
we were commenting that this year he was there was no one challenging him on the track, so he was like, the wind's really weird today, guys. He kept talking about how strange the wind was. So
I was thinking, was it hard to train him this year when he's so far ahead?
Was it hard to keep him motivated in your sessions? No.
Because if I was him,
if anything, he was more motivated this year than any year he's been.
Really
interesting.
Really, because if I'm that far ahead, I was thinking maybe I put on some weight. Let these guys catch up. You know, we know he loves food. I have to ask. We know he talked about how much he loves food and how much he wants to gain weight. How much of a Nazi did you have to be around the dinner table?
Not too bad.
Okay.
Yes, he might talk about it, but he also knows where he needs to be. So he knows how far he can push his limit, and he knows when he needs to pull it back, and he knows how hard it will be to pull it back if he goes too far. So I didn't really have to do a lot around that.
There was never a moment where it's like, okay, that's enough Doritos. You know, there was never that moment.
Yeah, we're taking them away, mate.
Yeah, we asked him about. We talked to him when we were in Austin. We asked him about like what's his guilty pleasure when it comes to food, and he was not sweets. He was like he likes the savory snacks. Have you ever like in the off season come in and been like, dude, come you've because I was thinking about Paddy Pimblett, right, the UFC fighter, and how he gets like so cut but then he gets so cut, and then the second he wins his he wins a match, he's eating a donut in the thing. Within a week, he's like gained 30 pounds. Like, how do you do that? On some level, because we've heard Max in interviews, we watched his documentary, and he was like, at the dinner table, like, clearly, like, he loves, he loves his food. So how much, any of that?
No, again, he knows the limit. So
He
will put on a bit. He knows how hard it's going to be to get it off, and it's going to get harder as he gets older as well. So,
and I want to ask you about off season versus in season, because I've never been an elite athlete, even close, but before playing rugby in college, you lift a bunch of weights and you're like, I'm getting bigger and I'm going to keep lifting weights throughout the season, and then you start playing, you get sore and you feel like shit, and then there's no way you can maintain that level of exercise. So I guess my question is like, how does exercises like in preseason change once you like hit the ground running with the season? And is it like you get as much strength as you can and you just kind of hope to maintain that strength, or you get more, like, too much strength and you just like hope to lose as little as possible? Like, how does that work throughout the season and preseason?
Yeah, we try and build up as much as we can. So as much cardiovascular fitness base as we can, as much strength everywhere that we can. And then you hit the first race and you're right, it then becomes more about maintaining, because we don't have big blocks through the season. This year was interesting because we had like a 3 weeks. We had pre-season, we had a couple of races, then we had a 3-week gap. So we were able to gain a little bit more within that gap and then maintain for the rest of the year. So we kind of have two main periods. Pre-season is where we do all the good work, then we maintain, and then we have that kind of mini break in the summer where we kind of have a couple of weeks where we can work a bit harder, and then second half of the year you don't have any time. The second half of the year is pretty crazy in terms of the schedule and the flyaways, and you end up doing like 9-10 races in like 12 weeks or something. So that is purely recovery and doing what you can.
I'm curious about the travel, because they have to travel so much in terms of, jet lag. Just like for, and this can be applied. I'm curious.
Yeah, I have to. My girlfriend's from England. I have to fly
from California to
LA
the UK.
UK, and every time I get there, it's like a week for me.
Yeah.
How do you get like I am ruined for a week? Help me out here.
Yeah, how do you beat jet lag? What would you say? Like, because they have to do crazy stuff. They have to go from it's like from America to Abu Dhabi. It's like that is 12 hours, 11 hours of time change in a week.
So I'm going to visit my girlfriend in England in a week. Yeah, how am I doing it?
Yeah.
Yep. So you're heading to England, so you need to shift your time backwards. So 3 or 4 days before you fly, you want to start to get up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour earlier, get up 2 hours earlier. So each day you're changing 1 hour. So by the time you fly, you're getting up at like 3 a.m. on the day of your flight. And so that's the first. You start to shift early. Second thing is then making sure you sleep at the right time on the plane. So if you take off at midday and by 3 o'clock, the time in the UK is 10 o'clock, 7-8 hours is at 10 o'clock, then you need to be asleep at 2-3 p.m. on that flight. Yeah. And then you need to be waking up on UK time at whatever time you might do. And then the biggest differential or the biggest determinant of changing circadian rhythm is light. So at the time, so for example, when you're waking up at 3 a.m. and you're trying to shift into UK time, you then need to get as much light as possible. Now, obviously, it's going to be dark where you are, but you need to use screens, you need to use lights. If you're on the plane, you need to use the reading light, use the screens. And then when you get to the UK, you then, sunglasses on because you need to go to sleep pretty soon when you get there. And then the kind of fourth thing would be just to kind of dose caffeine in and around the times that you you require it to stay up. So it's quite simple stuff, but it's very kind of structured and planned. And if you get that right, then you can hit the ground running when you land.
Right, it's almost like a chart. It's like we're doing this much time, so I need to start going to bed at this time. This blah blah blah. How
private jet?
The hardest, yeah. Well, you've got the private jet, which I want to ask you about. But how hard is it? I mean, I feel like you have to be kind of elite at falling asleep. It's so my hardest thing is like falling asleep. Is Max just kind of like, all right, time to go to bed, and he's like, okay, like can kind of turn on, turn off.
Yeah, he's really good at that. I am too. I can literally sleep anywhere at any time. Wow. So I get on a flight at 2 p.m. and I'll just go to sleep. So it's I think it comes with the planning. So if you've been up at 3 a.m., you're going to be tired by 2 p.m. So that's that's a given. But also I think you get a bit of adjustment. You build a bit of a tolerance to jet lag. I remember in 21 when we started to almost go back to normal racing, and we went to Austin. It was the first kind of flyaway race that we had. So all of 2020, we only did Europe and Middle East, which aren't that long flights for us. Right. And then the first half of 21 was all Europe and the Middle East. Get out to Austin, and 3/4 of the paddock are shot because they haven't traveled, they haven't done long distance travel for almost 2 years. So I think you definitely do build up a bit of a tolerance to shifting time zones all the time.
I see. What's Max's sleeping routine? Is he listening to something? Does he have the earphones on? Is it music? Is it white noise, or is it the Red Flags podcast? Maybe. What's lulling him to sleep?
I think it's close your eyes and you're gone. So I think it's
Just raw dogging reality. What about you? What are you just no headphones? You're just out?
Yeah, no headphones. I put some headphones on when I'm on the plane, but it's just noise cancelling and just to take the buzz away a little bit. But most of the time I'm asleep before the plane even takes off. So.
Wow. You're one of those guys that's like you wake up when you land.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, great job. Well, we mentioned Max's jet before. I'm assuming that you've flown on the jet.
I have, yes.
What's the vibe? We've heard that there's a sim rig on the jet.
There isn't.
There's not.
That's fake news.
Nice, but there isn't.
That's fake news. Wow, that's an exclusive.
That's exclusive.
There is no sim rig on Max Verstappen's jet.
Wow.
No. People are going to be really upset about that, I think. No, what's the vibe? Was that your first time? Had you flown on private jets before? Or is this the kind of your first time? What's the vibe?
Yeah, I'd never flown on private jets before until I was with Max, and I think the first time I flew on one was probably my first pre-season. We were to and fro from Portugal with his family after again doing some testing at track, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Would recommend.
Would recommend.
Yeah, give it a go one day.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll be sure to do that when I'm flying to New York in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You mentioned we talked about this season. You said that this season he was in 2023 he was more locked in than ever. But I'm curious about what that 2021 season was like, because that was such an intense season. It was the ups, the downs. The last 2 years were dominant. Obviously, 2022 Leclerc was making a push, but that 2021 season was like unmatched. One of the greatest seasons in Formula One history. I'm curious, like, the highs and lows of that season, anything that comes to mind in terms of also like the physio work that maybe you had to put in, like after Silverstone, after that big crash. Like, what was the recovery process like after that? The mentality. I'm curious about that whole process for you.
Yeah, it was a hell of a season, and it's so interesting because every time you kind of look back on it, you kind of think of different moments and different things that you kind of forgot in the moment, because we very rarely see sporting moments like that, when two teams are going head to head in that way, and it was so interesting, kind of just chatting to someone the other day who was in and around the drivers. We're in the cool down room with all the drivers after the race, and little things to try and get the mind games and get one over the other. Just when you're getting ready and getting changed to go out into the press conference. And I look back at that now, and at the time I was thinking, this is all a bit funny. What's Lewis doing or what's Max doing and stuff there. But now you look back at it and you think, hang on, these are two of the absolute greats going head to head for a world championship, and you are witnessing some of the finest sporting moments of the career. This is like Michael Jordan getting an elbow into a player to win the NBA finals and talking about it on The Last Dance. So I feel very privileged to have witnessed some of these things and be able to look back on it. But it was intense. Everyone felt it. Everyone came away from that season completely knackered and shot, and obviously with a lot of euphoria as well. I think one of the biggest blow up moments was probably in Brazil and then in Saudi. So Brazil was the third to last race, Saudi was the penultimate race, and there was a few penalties flying around in Brazil. You could feel the hatred's a strong word, but between every team member of Red Bull and every team member of Mercedes, and we're next door to each other. Hospitalities are like this. You're crossing each other, and you can just feel that no one wants to look at one another, or the tension was there. And then obviously it all blew up in Saudi a little bit. We decided we were going home after Saudi, and part of that was to stay out and take a couple of days in Dubai and recollect, ready for Abu Dhabi, because I think Mercedes had won like 4 or 5 races in a row there, and we were a bit back against the wall. So it was a great time, and obviously it'll go down in the history as not just one of the greatest F1 seasons, but probably one of the greatest sporting seasons that we've seen.
Definitely. Was there? I just had an image, like when there's a hockey fight. And then the goalies kind of go after each other. I'm thinking about like each member of the Red Bull garage going after their equivalent in the Mercedes garage, and then I'm just thinking about you and Angela Cullen just like squaring up. Were you and Angela Cullen giving each other dirty looks? Like, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
You're like, my guy can do 47 kilos on the neck. What can Lewis do, Angela?
We have a laugh about it now, but you couldn't be friendly in the moment. We're friends now, but you couldn't be friendly in the moment because you're with the two people going at it. So it's it's that whole sort of, you compete, but maybe a few days after the competition, you go for a beer and chat it out.
It's like pro wrestling. In front of the drivers, you have to pretend to hate each other. But,
right. Well, I'm curious. You talked about Max's mentality of like, no matter what you throw at him, he always performs the same. That season seemed like, he was throwing these curveballs. This was the most intense environment that probably he'd ever been in terms of, was there a notable shift in his mentality? Was he still able to like laugh and joke with you after like a race like Saudi, or was there kind of like all hands on deck? Because it kind of feels like, this is what you play for. This is really like, these are the moments in a season like this where he's so dominant. He's in the dominant car. Of course he's training, but there isn't necessarily that like that pressure on top. He might impose that pressure on himself because he's such a perfectionist, but this was the entire world. The mano a mano kind of thing. What was his mentality during that time?
Yeah, it's you're quite right. You approach every season in a different way, and we've seen kind of three different kind of world championship winning seasons. But it was a whole all hands on deck. We need to find a way to win because Mercedes are quicker than us, as simple as that. And you did have to approach it in a different way. You did have to have different strategies in terms of how you approach it. You had to, constantly be aware of what the standings were. You know, if you're in third place, do I have to get second, or can I be in third and still get a result the next race to win the championship? Or, you know, do I need to do everything I can to finish second or ultimately first? I think it's all contextual to the season you're in and just kind of knowing where you are within those standards.
And then the final race, obviously the chaos of that, the thrill of that, going down to the last lap. How invested are you? Because you kind of, I think it's interesting. Even talking to you now, you're a professional and you've been in these different environments. But when you know, in an environment like that, like how emotional, like did you cry? Like how intense was that for you as someone who's like, you know, you've only been with Max for a couple of years, but you know, it's such an intense relationship. You've watched all the blood, sweat, and tears that he's put into it. You've you know, had to rehabilitate him throughout, you know, whatever, you know, after Silverstone and stuff. Like what was that moment like for you as someone who is, you know, side by side with Max during that whole process?
Yeah, it was. I can't really remember the actual moment itself. It kind of goes by. You feel a complete, you know, release, and everyone's going mad around you. And I don't know. I might have cried. I don't even know.
You like blacked out.
Yeah,
Especially
maybe
because you probably thought you lost it.
Right.
Most of the race, you thought, oh, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, it was gone. I was getting on a plane home and getting out of there.
You're like packing your bag in the in the motorhome, and then all of a sudden it's like Latifi's in the wall. Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. So it was crazy. You know, the whole team were basically in the TV.
Right.
We went crazy afterwards. I was again very lucky because in those 2 years, 2020 and 2021, because of the bubbles that we still maintained, I was actually allowed into kind of Parc Ferme, so I just legged it for that. And as soon as the kind of cars got in and Max got out, well, you can see the picture behind me. You know, I've got that picture. Everyone's in the background, looking at us, and I just run. He's just jumped into my arms, and we jumped around for a bit, and it was wow. It's one of those things that you can't really remember, but you just know you felt good.
This episode is brought to you by Southern Comfort. Created in 1874 with an innovative blend of stone fruit and spices, SoCo whiskey is the original ready-for-anything spirit, satisfying on its own and ideal mixed in any drink. Maybe. Southern Comfort is tasteful and approachable however you drink it and whoever you drink it with. Whiskey doesn't have to be harsh and overpowering, and SoCo is easy-going and downright delicious. This really is kind of like, if you don't want to drink whiskey, you kind of drink Southern Comfort. It's got a little bit of flair, it's got a little bit of spice to it. It makes it a little bit easier if you're someone who's like, you know what, Jameson's too hard. SoCo all day.
As we say in Friday Beers, it hits different.
It hits different. I've had my share of some SoCo in my day, and we're happy that they're working with us now. So SoCo Original is a medium blend, full body texture with notes of vanilla, citrus, and stone fruit. SoCo Black, baby. It's a suave and complex, but welcomingly simple, with an aroma of whiskey and oak, and a medium body with a sweet whiskey texture and a subtle but firm notes of vanilla and caramelized sugar. No matter the moment, Southern Comfort is ready for anything. Packed with flavor, mixes with anything, and easy to drink. Next time you're at the bar, go ahead and order some SoCo Sour shots. That's 1 part SoCo, 2 parts Sour Mix. They're delicious and guaranteed to keep the party going. Now back to the show.
And how do you maintain that same? Because everyone talks about, I mean, in basketball, they talk about like the disease of more, right? Mm-hmm. Where like once you win these championships, once you reach the top, they say it's really tough to just keep that. How do you think you keep that edge after you win something like that? I mean, how do you keep that mentality up for like so many years in a row after you've proven yourself so unequivocally?
Yeah, I think, again, the mindset to just keep winning is there. We love winning, and it's what we what we get out of bed for in the morning. It's what we do all our work for. We want to win no matter what it is. So, if we're going out and we're going to Monza, we're going to Belgium, we want to win that race. We want to win every single race. And then if the championship comes at the end, the championship comes at the end. And that's the mentality that he has, which, reverberates around the entire team. And it's a mentality I've always shared as well. And, a big part of me is going to tremendously miss that. And the thing I will miss the most is rolling in on a Sunday, knowing that we're going competing, that competition, that, that euphoria of winning. It's a drug for want of a better word, in that sense. So, it hasn't been hard. You're right. We've had 3 different seasons. So the first one was motivated by winning the first championship. Right. The second one was motivated by 1, seeing off Ferrari, and 2, making sure that, we got the second and, we're here to stay. And then the third one, we were motivated by winning every single race and setting every single record that we could.
Okay. So that's interesting to me. So you think each season you tell yourself a new story, and that gets you kind of
new goals.
I got you.
Yeah, you do. But still on the backdrop of, I'm going to win every single race.
Right.
You're going in every time thinking I'm going to win every single race.
Right.
You have to have that mentality, right?
What happens when he wins every single race in 2024? What is then the story he tells himself in 2025? When he goes, okay, I won every single race by 20 seconds. Now I need to win every single race by 30 seconds?
Most probably.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Well, speaking of winning almost every single race, this year was obviously a historic season. We just talked about Abu Dhabi. But he won in Qatar this year. He won during the sprint race. Now, we've heard from from Christian Horner's talked about it. Max talked about it, that the story is that he was hungover for the Qatar race this year because he won it during the sprint. And that was also the craziest race because, Logan, people were passing out in the car, the physical demands of that. And yet, then after the fact, we learned, on the podium, I forget who was the third. It was Max.
Lando and Oscar.
Yeah, Lando and Oscar were passed out. Max seemed tired, but not as bad as, some of the other drivers. And then we find out that he was hungover from the night before. I mean, can you tell us anything about that night? And then also a hungover Max Verstappen still having to race during the most physically demanding race maybe in Formula One history. What was that process like as Max's physio and trainer?
He's just lucky that he has a great trainer who gets him into great shape, and he can tolerate the demands of the sport at any time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Do you have some hangover cure that we don't? That's
right.
That's patented.
That's true.
That's
we work for this company, Friday Beers, which is a beer. Okay. It's a kind of beer drinking fraternity style company. I mean, we got this is part of the vibe. What's the hangover? What's the best hangover cure? How do you get rid of a hangover?
I don't really know. I normally get back into training. I train and I sweat it out and get on with it. I guess
I will say I do find that I never enjoy running. I hate running, but the only time I ever enjoy running is when I'm hungover because I already feel like shit. And then I start running and I start sweating it off. And then all of a sudden I actually feel better.
Right.
Because I'm getting the toxins out of my body.
Okay.
So do you think that maybe there was me doing a 2-mile run at hungover? Was there at all maybe an element of that? I mean, how?
That was like his sauna.
I'm like, how the hell? I'm really thinking, how the hell did Max do that? Because honestly, and we were going to talk, you look at some of these other guys and aesthetically, you look at a Pierre Gasly, and he looks like he's
in a Marvel movie.
On his Thor shit. He looks like he's ready to film a Marvel movie. Max actually if you look at him, there's a kind of unassumingness to that to him, and yet then you see a thing like this, and Gasly's passed out in the corner, and Max is chilling, what?
Hungover,
hungover, chilling.
So is there a diminishing returns to that level of to having 3% body fat, or or the muscles for Instagram not really helping you on the track? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, it's at the end of the day, Formula One, you need the strength, but first and foremost, it's an endurance sport. So you drive that car for 90 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. You have to have a very good cardiovascular base. So, I can't comment on the other drivers' training, but we put a lot of effort into our cardiovascular base and being fit enough to tolerate that. We do heat training. We're out in the European summer, 35 to 39 degrees Celsius, and we go out at midday and we run. There's a lot to say about that as well, and being able to tolerate those kind of heats.
And if you drink a lot, then that helps as well to tolerate that. Is that how that works? You get better at hangovers?
a lot of water, and a lot of electrolytes, and then you'll be good. Yeah.
And a lot of Red Bull.
A lot of Red Bull.
keep the energy up. Oh, that's a question that I have. Whenever you see Max drinking, it's like he's drinking out of the Red Bull thing. Everything is labeled Red Bull, and then I'm like, is Max just drinking Red Bull 24/7, or it's just
when it's the can? When it's the can,
it's the can. He's drinking out of the can.
That's Red Bull. But when it's like a bottle that says Red Bull and it's got that's water.
Yeah, well, it's a mixture of electrolytes, carbohydrate drink that we use. So
it's Michael's secret stuff.
It's Michael's secret stuff.
Brad's secret stuff.
It's Brad's secret stuff.
Oh, okay.
Now I can take on the Monstars.
Yeah, exactly.
The Mercedes team. Okay, I think maybe we were talking about this. Maybe we should get into our videos. We want to maybe have you react.
I know you said you wouldn't comment on other drivers, but we're going to try.
We're gonna show you because here's the thing, Brad. Some of these boys are out here doing some crazy training.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
How do we feel about this? How do you think this helps you?
I think, it takes some fitness to do that. It takes some strength to do that. I wouldn't want him getting injured. That's for sure.
Right. Well,
seems so if you saw Max do that, would you be having a panic attack?
I would certainly be investigating the safety and demands that it might put on the body.
Yeah,
and
okay.
When was it? It was 14th of January, so it's a long way away from a race. So that's
So even if
you could rehab a broken neck for sure. You could definitely massage that out.
But I guess you see this and it's kind of like, is this necessary for driving a Formula One car? Is this necessary?
I think also, training can be boring sometimes, putting the miles in on the ground, doing the same old strength exercises over and over again. And I know certainly last year we got into a bit of paddle. I don't know if you've seen the game that's kind of swept around Europe. And actually that provided a really nice sort of 90 minutes of cardio. So we'd switch a couple of sort of run sessions out for a couple of sort of games of paddle a week.
Nice, safe paddle.
Yeah. No rolling ankles.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. But the thing is, he's probably because here's the thing: is like when I had like a bad back, and like I went to a bachelor party and they were playing pickleball, which is big in the United States, and I was like, I'm going to take it easy. But then I just wanted to beat these assholes so badly that I just immediately turned it on.
Right.
And I was beating everybody, and then I tweaked my back. So it's like, do you get so competitive sometimes that kind of gets in the way of taking it easy?
Yeah, for sure it could do. I think you just have to play it safe. Maybe if the pain's already there, you don't do it.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, Jenny, let's do the George Bridge. Yeah,
it's not too dissimilar to some of the neck bridges that we would do. We normally do it on a bench.
Yeah.
This just puts the neck at a slightly different angle. I think a bench is probably safer, but
but it doesn't look as cool.
Doesn't look quite as ready to be memed on the internet.
it looks quite anesthetic, doesn't it? It looks like you should be doing like some dance or some ballet or something.
Right, yes. That is exactly why George posted this picture. Because that is the vibe. I mean, we saw his intro pose this year. There is a grace to
He just
to
has a
George.
knack. He just has a nose for it. All right, let's get Carlos.
Carlos in the sauna on the bike.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of drivers do this prior to Singapore, because they just give it. Well, we don't, but we have the summer weather in Monaco. So as I said to you, we'll go out and we'll train at midday in 39 degrees C. So it's not too dissimilar.
Brad, you act like most of these guys don't live in Monaco and they don't have access to this training. But anyway.
George has just moved there. Carlos doesn't, so you never know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's definitely not hot in Spain in the summer. Okay.
Let's do Alex's neck training here. All right. So we've seen this fair amount of times when you're pulling on the neck.
Oh yeah.
So how do you know
what the limit is?
What the limit is?
Because this is a big guy and he's going for it.
I mean, like at a certain point, is like. Here's also a question: do people like? How often are there neck tweaks? Do people get hurt doing this? Like, how do you know where the limit is?
Have you ever pulled on the neck like that?
Yeah, have you ever pulled on the Max's neck like that?
Yeah, there's a few videos of me doing that. I think somewhere.
How nervous are you? Like, this is the most valuable neck in the fucking world.
You know where the limit is because they're letting you know. So you work towards. So there's two ways you can do it.
There's a safe word.
Yeah, exactly.
Red,
pineapple.
Yeah, we get out of there. But there's actually a scale. So where Patrick is putting Alex there, you can see the grey thing. That's a scale, and it's measuring probably the kilograms that he's pulling. So they'll know where they can go to in that sense.
Okay. So he's not just eyeballing it.
I see.
No.
I could tell by the veins in his eyeballs bulging that where the limit is. I see.
But you can as well, because there's a simple but also very good rating scale. It's called rate of perceived exertion, or RPE. Yeah. And they've rated that against certain data in other things, and that subjective report is very similar to the level of where someone can go to. So normally in a kind of normal training session, you might work to 7 out of 10 RPE. Right. So you're working hard, you can feel it hurting a little bit, but you don't feel like your head's going to fall off. Right. And then you can govern it around that sort of scale. So
you're not going to like the 1 rep max of the neck. You're doing just below that.
No, you'll try and work. We normally work anywhere between sort of a couple of seconds to 10 seconds. So some corners can be up to sort of 7-8 seconds, and they need to hold that for that entire period of time. And then sometimes it's fast and sharp that you want to work. So you work both.
Gotcha. All right, Jenny, let's do the Bain treadmill.
Can you explain what this is?
Okay, yeah. This.
So they're doing a VO2 max test there.
Yeah.
So they're trying to measure oxygen in, oxygen out. They'll do some lactate tests and blood tests, monitor the heart. It's basically a measure of your cardiovascular fitness.
Yeah.
So it's diagnostic.
Yes. Yeah.
And does everyone do this?
Yeah.
So you do this with Max?
Yep. Yeah, every year.
Okay.
After about 4 weeks of pre-season, we'll head over to Austria at the performance center there. Gotcha. And do a whole day of tests, stroke tests, cardiovascular tests, just to see where we are.
Will you set a baseline and then do it again and hope to see an improvement?
You can do. For us, it's just a kind of marker of where we are. We don't really have what you'd love to do is kind of do it pre-season, do it around summer break, do it at the end of the year. Yeah. We don't have the time to schedule those days in. And that's why we do it after 4 weeks of pre-season. So we do 4 weeks of pre-season, let them get into some shape. Yeah. And then if he comes in, and these drivers want to be somewhere between 50 and 60, it's millimolecules, whatever the thing is there. And you think about elite soccer players about 60, 61, 62. So if they come in around, 55, 58, then, they're good, and you keep training and they'll reach a certain point. If they're like 48, then you might think, okay, we're going to do another 4 weeks of training and then retest.
Oh, there is like a benchmark.
Yeah.
I think this gets me to the magic question is like, if I said, I'm a billionaire, I can just buy an let's pretend super license doesn't exist for a second. I want to be an F1 driver. Okay. Are there just physical benchmarks that I would have to hit where you could say, oh, he could actually physically do it? Pretend that, and I might crash in everybody and be the slowest person there, but there are physical benchmarks that you could help me hit. Yeah.
You could be physically fit to get in a Formula 1 car.
So what would I have to do? Tell me the benchmarks.
Yeah, how do we get Matt in the car?
I have to hit the 50 number on the thing.
Yeah, so but that's the race. If you're going to just do one lap, then that.
No, he's racing.
No,
he's racing. He owns the team.
Okay.
So
this is a hypothetical. He owns the team.
We're doing Singapore.
Yeah, we're doing Singapore.
So what are the things you're going to have to see me do before you let me race?
Yeah, so you need a high 50s VO2 max.
Hold on, wait. Sorry. Slow down. High
50 VO2 max. Yep.
550 VO2 max.
I'll be your trainer. I can get you there.
Okay. High 50 VO2 max.
Yeah.
What else?
And then the other determinants really are kind of the neck strength determinants. So neck extension, pushing back. So we use an isokinetic machine, but you can also use like what you just saw with Patrick and Alex there.
Yeah.
So Brian could just yank on my neck.
Yeah, as long as you've got the measure there.
Okay.
And what weight do I have to pull there?
So 40 kilos going backwards.
Okay. 40 kilos going backwards. For how long?
So that's your peak, and then you want to maintain sort of 35, 40 kilos for around probably about 10 seconds.
Okay. And then what about lateral? Same?
About 35. So slightly less, yeah.
Which for Brian can dry up a program for me, no problem.
He's a great PT, I heard.
Yeah. I'll just be, I'm the one eating donuts. I'll be eating donuts and I'll be ready to go. For our American fans, 40 kilos is about 88 pounds.
88 I was about 40 kilos. Oh, now you say 88 pounds. I'm like, shit.
And then 30, you said 35 side to side? For lateral,
yeah,
that's 77 pounds.
Yeah, the problem is when you go to
times by 2.2.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. When you go to LA Fitness, you don't see neck shit. That's the problem.
What is like the average? Like if you right now or us, like what's our for the civilian? For a civilian, what's their max? If you were going to do it with me right now, what would you think it would be?
If your peak, you could probably get about 20, 25 sideways.
Okay.
So I'm not that far off.
You wouldn't be able to hold it. You might just get there and then it'll drop away very quickly.
So I have to do it, and how long do I have to hold it for?
10 seconds.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's kind of what we aim for. When we actually test the endurance, we actually get them to hold for 20 seconds because you get a build, then you get a hold, and then you get a kind of drop off. So you're looking at what that peak curve is.
Gotcha.
So you're basically telling me it's your cardiovascular and it's your neck. So basically I can skip leg day. That's what you're telling me, right? I got power steering.
You still need those qualities, but they don't.
But just right leg, right? Because you didn't say anything about gas. You just said brake. So I just got to do right leg.
Left leg.
Left leg then. Left leg.
Left leg is gas.
We're starting well. He doesn't know which fucking foot does which fucking pedal.
I don't even know how
we can definitely get in that Formula 1 car.
Gotcha. And what about the core? Is the core? I mean, because you're pulling the G's. I know that the head is the loosest part, but it's got to be on the core as well, right?
Yeah, so you're very well strapped into the car. You can hardly move.
So I could be just blubber down there.
Yeah, the core for me is more about the shock absorbance for like the lower back and the rest of you there.
Yeah, I see.
But also your head sits on your body, so having a good core also transitions up to kind of managing to maintain the neck as well.
So the neck is like 1 through 10. in terms of like the most important body part? Like what's 11?
For me, the lower back. It's the most injured area in drivers. So a lot of people think they injure their neck, but they don't, unless they're having a kind of severe crash. They're well-trained athletes. The neck strength builds up as you drive. So after testing and pre-season, you're pretty much ready to go. But the lower back is dependent on the track surface, whether it's a street circuit, whether it's a normal circuit, how they're running the car. Are they running it stiffer or not? And that's the most injured or kind of sore, niggly area for a driver.
And by lower back, are you talking about like herniated disc, or are you talking about muscle problems?
It doesn't go as severe as, a disc herniation normally, but that can happen.
Well, I have one of those. So
like,
that might get in the trouble of me driving a car now.
Yeah.
Severe disc herniation.
Like L4 is
L5S1.
L5S1. L5S1.
Okay.
Okay.
So now how do you strength? Is that both deadlifts? What are we talking? How do you get the lower back ready for a race?
Yeah, deadlifts is certainly part of the program. You wouldn't go straight in with those. You want to build up, but we know from the research, that increasing the strength in your posterior chain reduces lower back pain. So you want strong glutes, you want strong hamstrings, you want strong lower back muscles. You want to include the core within that as well, so you're getting the sort of anterior shock absorbance too. So we focus a lot on those areas.
So glute bridges, stuff, hyperextension, stuff like that.
Yeah, loads of that.
That's why Oscar Piastri has a great butt.
What's Max's deadlift? One rep max.
We haven't really ever gone there because it's just not needed.
It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, it doesn't transition into what we're trying to do.
Right.
It probably doesn't give us a lot of information for where we want to go, and there's obviously a risk of injury, and or just loss of days from just being sore and fatigued.
There's just so many reasons why you don't need to know your one rep.
Yeah, but then he gets to go to Charles Leclerc and says, I ripped freaking 230 kgs.
I could deadlift you times 3.
So we showed you all those videos. We feel like it's interesting because all the drivers put out these videos of them in the Bane mask and them in the room. Jenny, can you pull up the clip? Can we pull up what I'm talking about? Then Max, he posted this workout, and I'm curious if this is a Brad Skaines approved workout, or what I'm really curious of was Max trolling the ice climbing with this workout that he posted.
Is this mind games? Is this mind games? What is this?
Yeah, this is a
very back is curved, Brad. This back is curved.
And how small is that kettlebell?
That kettlebell's
speak to this. Did you program this exact workout?
Yeah, so this is a very light lower back day session. This is us just getting moving, doing a bit of mobility, adding a bit of weight to it. It's we'd had a tough week.
Well, because when he posted that, it was like the day after, and I couldn't. I was just like, because you choose what to post, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just can't help but feel like this is like Charles Leclerc is on the, shaking hands with death on the side of the mountain. And Max is like, this is a 10 kg kettlebell. I'm just getting my lower back warmed up, guys.
He's got his cats in the background.
His cats are in the background.
There's got to be some kind of commentary about like, you guys are doing all this extra shit and I'm just chilling at home.
It does feel like
I'm just doing Peloton workouts over here.
Yeah, that is kind of from the public. The vibe is that you guys, it's the lady doth protest too much. I'll see you on track. My neck's just as strong as your guys's, and you know what? I'm better at driving than you as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing, actually, and it's a conversation we've had before, because we have the markers that we need to get to. We have our KPIs, as it were, and how you get there doesn't really matter. So we managed to do it in the most time efficient way, the most enjoyable way for Max, and it doesn't impact on the other stuff as much. And that was a big thing that we targeted. So it's you can do lots of different stuff to get there.
Gotcha.
What's your best way to get him to hit that last rep? Do you yell at him? Do you curse at him? Do you positive stuff? What's the way to get that last rep?
No, it's it's similar to how he approaches everything. He doesn't like working out. Everybody knows that. But when he's in the session, he gets after it, and it's just shifting that mindset. He might not want to do it. He might not want to do it ever again. Right. But there's not too much encouragement needed actually in session, which is always nice. It's nice to work that way.
Okay, great. We'll just do a quick rapid fire.
Yeah.
All right. If Max pisses you off, what exercise are you doing to punish him? What's his least favorite exercise?
Single leg squats.
Single leg squats.
Brutal.
Okay.
Or planks.
Oh, planks? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite circuit?
Favorite circuit is probably Austin.
Awesome. Nice.
It brings a bit of everything from good race, good track, but good city, and nice place to kind of go out in and stuff. So
nice. What's your favorite race to train for?
Favorite race to train for? So I like training for the warm weather ones because it adds a different aspect to it. You have to think about what you need to do. Miami in particular, because that's tough, as tough or worse than Singapore in year one, and it comes a lot sooner in the year, so you don't have the heat to help you out.
Trendy workout that you hate?
Ice climbing.
Yes. What do you think of 75 hard?
Yeah, I've seen bits about it. I don't really know what it is now, but
okay. Brian's ready to kill the transmission.
Yeah. If it gets you to where you want to be, then it gets you to where you want to be. Okay. So that's good.
Gotcha. Do you support skipping leg day?
No.
Okay. How long can Max plank for?
A decent amount of time. We're talking, I can't actually remember, but I think we must have hit like 4 or 5 minutes in pre-season test and a bit longer come summer break. So
it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn solid.
Supplements that are trendy that you think are useless?
Yeah.
Most of them, all of them.
Oh, wow. All of them.
If you have a good balanced diet, you get most of what you need to get in. So the only couple of things I ever recommend, vitamin D. So being in Europe, we should be taking vitamin D at least 9 months a year. Okay. And then for training, creatine is a very useful supplement. But outside of that, you don't really need much else.
If you could train one other driver on the grid, who would it be?
One other driver on the grid.
Yuki Tsunoda. Try to motivate him.
Yeah, I think I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know. He's not on the grid at the moment, but he was for a period of time last year. Liam Lawson, Red Bull, lovely kid, and I really hope to see him back on the grid sometime.
Us too.
We do too. Oh, I heard a story that Hugh once had to use Liam Lawson's sneaker or his shoes because Max's weren't packed up, right?
Yeah, Baku in 21.
Baku in 21.
He had to use Liam. Were they the same size or was it awkward?
Same size. Yeah, the only person in the grid is the same size.
He kicked the tire with Liam Lawson's shoe.
Well, he didn't want to get his own ones.
Oh, that is great. Yeah. So you're no longer working with Max. You're starting your own business. Am I right?
He has his own.
Yeah.
But you're going more full time into that.
Yeah, so Elite Formula Physio and Training is an app for people who either injured in pain or just want to achieve some fitness goals. I actually started it 18 months ago, run it alongside my travel, and it's got into a place where I can step away and do that, and gives me a little free time to spend with my daughter and enjoy a bit of time, not getting on 110 flights a year. So.
Yeah, in your decision to leave was the travel just I know you had your daughter, was that all part of that decision process for you?
Yeah, she's 2.5 now actually, and just becoming a lot more known. Travel's getting harder and harder, more races as well, and also with the business, it was either a jump in now or it stays a side thing and never becomes anything bigger. So, I will miss it, as I said before. Miss working with the people, with Max, that competitiveness to it. But it's nice because I got a few junior drivers actually signed up as well, and I'm going to hopefully help them a little bit on their journey and see how far they can get.
Nice.
I just have a quick question. What do you think? What do you think that VO2 max was? 40? 45?
That was really good.
Yeah.
Do you have asthma or?
Even in England on Riverside, it sounded like shit. Amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Where can we find you?
Yeah, where can the people find you?
I think probably Instagram's the best place. It's just at Bradley Skaines. Okay. That's where I'm most active.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. We appreciate it so much. This was fascinating.
Yes.
We start and end this podcast as with an homage to Gunther Steiner, who recently, we know what happened. She says in the first season of Drive to Survive, he goes, "We look like a bunch of wankers." So we start with "What's up, Venkas?" We end with "Goodbye, Venkas." So would you honor us with giving us a "Goodbye, Venkas"?
Goodbye, Venkas.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye, Venkas. Thank you so much, Brad.